Hi everyone, it's Miss Akvari in the library, here to talk with you in advisory. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. I have a certain type of book that I want to talk to you about. I want to highlight our nonfiction section. So I have several different books that I think are great that hopefully you might find interesting that I want to share with you. So, just a reminder, nonfiction books are those books that contain true information. They might be the facts about famous people that we know from history. It might be statistics from your favorite sports team. It might be how to do something like cook or create a certain craft. And then there are lots of things that we call narrative nonfiction, where we're really learning kind of the background to some important events that are happening. And it's kind of told more like a story, but it is real, true things that happened to people in history about sports, various different topics. So the first section I wanted to highlight, I was thinking a little bit about kind of what's going on right now. And one of the big things that's happening in sports right now, we have all kinds of sports nonfiction books. We have almost every sport you can think of, lots of different things. But I wanted to highlight soccer because you might have watched some of the World Cup that's going on, or maybe you like playing soccer, maybe you have family members that play soccer or friends who do. And so these are some books that you may not know we have in the library that I wanted to bring to your attention. So the first book is called Outcasts United. This book was written in 2012, so it's a bit older, but this is a really interesting kind of time that has been captured and kind of explained to us in this book, Outcasts United. So this really happened in Georgia about 10 to 12 years ago. And outside of Atlanta, there was kind of a refugee center, a refugee community set up where several different refugees were kind of sent to find jobs and to be in this place as their new home. And it's kind of out in a rural kind of isolated part of Georgia. So wasn't necessarily a very diverse place before this happened. And suddenly there were a lot of Iraqi refugees and maybe Jordanian refugees, other refugees from the Middle East living in this town. And the main person who is involved in these events, her name is Luma, and she is Jordanian American. She had done a lot of different soccer. She was driving through, happened to stop in the town, and noticed all of these boys kind of out on the street with kind of nothing to do. And she thought, I wonder if there's any really programming for them, what they could be doing. And so she moved to Clarkson, Georgia, and dedicated her time to starting this soccer team and getting this community up and running. So if you played soccer, if you are interested in what it might be like to come to a new country and have to kind of start a new life, if you're interested in teamwork, you'll definitely like reading the book Outcasts United. The next book that deals with soccer I wanted to share with you is a biography of the soccer star Megan Rapinoe. And so you may have heard of her. She has won a gold medal on the U.S. women's soccer team. She has gone to the World Cup and won the World Cup 2 different times with the U.S. national soccer team, which are slightly different groups. And the other thing that you learn about in this book is sort of her activism piece. She has done a lot of different kind of protests and used her, what do I want to say, kind of her stardom to help people learn about LGBTQ rights as well as racial disparities and some injustice that she feels is happening. And she also worked for equal pay for women athletes. And her book is really interesting. It goes from the beginning of her life kind of up until now. The third book in our sports section I wanted to highlight is by someone you probably know, the author Kwame Alexander. And this is called The Playbook. And it's really kind of a motivational type book. So lots of different quotes from athletes, lots of things about the attitudes that we need to be successful in sports and in lots of different things about life. So if any of those sound good to you, please stop into our nonfiction sports section to find those. Another part of nonfiction that is very popular, and we have a lot of interesting books around, is our history section. And next week on Monday is Pearl Harbor Day, and that's a big event from World War II. And so I wanted to share some books from World War II with you. So the first book, Sabotage, is about an event that happened during World War II. Germany and the United States were both working on a nuclear bomb, and it was sort of a race to see who would get there first. And so Germany had this kind of top secret factory, and there was a Norwegian team of kind of almost like a SWAT team, kind of specialized soldiers that were sent to get to this station, get to this laboratory, and take down and stop this effort for Germany to have the atomic bomb, because everyone kind of involved knew that the first side to get that weapon would probably win the war. So if you're kind of curious what that might be like, or you're just kind of interested in special operations that military groups carry out, you'll definitely like reading the book Sabotage. The next book is about Pearl Harbor specifically. So if you want more information about Pearl Harbor, History Smashers is a great one. What's fun about that book is there's a lot of information, but there's also like pictures and diagrams. And so there's a lot of different formats there. So if you want more information about Pearl Harbor, this is a really easy way to find it in the book History Smashers. And then the last history book from the World War II era I wanted to share with you. And again, it's nonfiction, so this is a true story. This actually happened. This book is called The Perfect Horse. And this was something I had never heard about. I didn't know that this had happened until I became aware of this book. And so during World War II, Hitler had this farm of these like wonderful purebred horses that he was kind of trying to hide and use as sort of secret weapon, and also like use for military purposes, and use to kind of help his war effort along. The Russian army, who was advancing, had their eye on these horses because the Russian army was starving. The Soviet army was starving, and they thought, here's this food source that we have access to. And some US soldiers who were in kind of the vicinity got wind of this and staged a rescue operation for these horses, which we think of rescuing folks from concentration camps, and we think of rescuing prisoners of war, but we don't necessarily think about the animals that are maybe helping in the war effort. So if you are a horse lover, or if you're just curious about this aspect of World War II, you would really enjoy reading The Perfect Horse. And then finally, the last category of nonfiction I wanted to share with you today are memoirs and biographies. And so biographies are someone's life story. Memoirs are similar, except they generally talk about one specific instance. And so the first biography that I want to share with you is called The Boy Who Became a Dragon. It's of the former martial artist Bruce Lee. He kind of managed to kick off the kung fu movie genre in the United States. And so it's a really great biography. It's also a graphic novel. So if you like reading graphic novels and you want some nonfiction as well, this book is both. Same thing with the next book, I Was Their American Dream. This is another immigrant story. And so the author has written the story of what her life was like for her family before and after they immigrated to the United States, and kind of what her family was hoping for through their move. So again, it's a graphic novel, but it's a true story, and it's a memoir about this person's immigrant story. Then lastly, but not least, is the book Shout by Laurie Halse Anderson. She has several fiction books, made up stories in our library, but this book is her memoir of her life experience that shared and kind of inspired the book Speak. So if you like reading true information about people's lives, if you like relating to people that way, I think you'll enjoy reading any of these memoirs and biographies. So I hope you have some good ideas about some books you may want to read. I hope you investigate our nonfiction section, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.